Hello everybody, I'm the pilot Blake, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. In this video, we are flying the Carenado Cessna 182Q. This airplane was actually one of the first airplanes to release in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 marketplace back when it first dropped. However, I only recently picked it up and have since flown it a couple of times and decided to make a video on it. Now, I have flown 182s in the real world, but I have never flown a Quebec model, so I found a POH online that I have been using to become familiar with this variant. I will also be using the checklists in that document for today's flight. We are here at Marco Island in Florida, and we're not going to be doing anything too crazy today. We're just going to go up and fly this airplane around. So I thought we would depart east out of Marco Island, go out and do some maneuvers. We'll do steep turns, a little bit of slow flight, and a couple of stalls. Then we'll head up north and set ourselves up to shoot an RNAV GPS approach into Naples. We'll do a touch and go out of the approach and then a couple of circuits in the pattern up there before calling it a day. Alright guys, we're walking out to the airplane here, and I thought we'd go ahead and walk through the pre-flight inspection together because I haven't done a pre-flight inspection with you guys in a while, so we'll walk through it together here on the 182. So we'll go ahead and remove all of our covers here. So we will be ready to head up into the cockpit, which is where we'll actually start the pre-flight inspection. We'll leave the chocks, but everything else is removed. We'll go ahead and head up into the airplane, and I'll pull out the checklist here. So pre-flight inspection, starting in the cabin, of course, you want to make sure you have all of your documents on board. So your SPARROW acronym, supplements, placards, airworthiness certificate, registration, operating limitations, and the weight and balance on board the airplane. And then, of course, me as the pilot, I like to make sure I have everything I need on board, which for me, I always just make sure I have my pilot certificate, my medical certificate, my flight instructor certificate, and a government-issued photo ID with me. So assuming we have all of that stuff, we are good to start the pre-flight inspection. So starting in the cabin, the pilot's operating handbook is on board. Control lock is removed. Ignition switch is off. Avionics power is off. And we'll go ahead and turn the master on. Fuel quantity indicators, check quantity. We should have about 3/4 of a tank on each side, and we do. That looks good. I can hear the turn coordinator's electric gyro spooling up, which is good. We want to hear that. And we'll go ahead and we'll turn all of our lights on. We'll go outside and check our lights and our pitot heat real quick. So for your pitot heat, what you normally do is you turn it on and then let it warm up while we walk around the airplane and check the lights. So we got a landing and a taxi light there. Out here we should have a nav light, green one on the right wingtip and red one on the left wingtip. So green on the right. Flashing beacon is working, and then we've got our white light on the tail for nav light, and then the red nav light out here on the left wingtip. And then you'll come and you'll grab the pitot tube, just make sure that it is warm. So we'll assume that's all good, head back inside, and we'll turn all of that off. That's good. And we can turn the master switch off at this point as well. Static pressure alternate source valve is right down here. That's pushed in, and that's good. And then the baggage door will check on the exterior. So the pre-flight inspection is complete for in here in the cockpit. We do have the parking brake set, so we'll be good to pull the chocks before we get back in. So we've got the baggage door closed and locked, secured. At this point right here is where I like to check my antennas, make sure there's no damage to any of them and that they all look good. One's underneath, same thing, all good. Coming around here, we'll check the elevator. And of course, we'd want to be checking the hinges and all that good stuff in the real world. Check our rudder. And coming around on this side, just want to make sure there's no damage, that everything looks good. We've got good static wicks on all of these surfaces, and they look good. We'll lift the elevator up here, and we'll check our trim tab connection right there. We want to make sure that looks good. And that is good. So elevator and rudders checked. Stabilizers look good. No damage on the empennage. Coming down here, we'll check our right main gear. Very good. And the flap. And the aileron. Again, if this was the real world, we'd be looking at our hinges, pins, push rods, all that good stuff. Stops, make sure that all looks good. No damage on the wingtip or the leading edge of the wing. Door looks good. And coming over here, we do have our static port on both sides of the nose. So here on the right side, just make sure that one looks clear, and it does. Cowling looks good. Check our propeller here. Whoop. A few little wear paint chips on there. It's perfectly normal. And actually, the modeling on that looks pretty good. And nothing blocking the intakes. The lights look good. Exhaust looks good. The cow flaps look good. We'll check our nose gear. All that looks good. Tires properly inflated. Coming around here, we'll check the oil. And I wish we had actual markings on the dipstick. That is one thing I would love to see added in an update at some point on this airplane. That would be really, really cool. There's the other static port right there. It looks good and clear. Everything on the nose looks good. Door hinges look good. And we've got our pitot tube right here, which looks good. The opening is nice and clear. The wing strut looks good. Stall warning vane right there looks good. And fuel vent right back there looks good. And looking at the leading edge of the wing, there's no damage or anything. That all looks good. Wing tip looks good. And the left aileron, now it's just, repeating the stuff we did on the other side. And the flap looks good. And the left main gear. Now, if this was the real world, we of course would want to check our fuel quantity, verify our fuel caps are secured, and then hit all of our fuel sumps to make sure that the fuel is not contaminated. All right, we're in the airplane all strapped up, and we'll go ahead and get this thing running. So, before starting engine checklist, the pre-flight inspection is complete. Seat belts, shoulder harnesses are all adjusted and locked. All that's good. Fuel selector valve on both. We'll go ahead and switch that over to both. Fuel selector valve is on both. Avionics power switch is off. Brakes test and set, so I will temporarily release the parking brake, verify we got good brake pressure, and we will set the parking brake once again. Parking brake is set. Cow flaps are open, and circuit breakers check in, and these circuit breakers are all in. Very good. Before starting engine checklist complete. Okay, starting engine checklist. Mixture will go rich. Now, there is a bug on this airplane where for some reason, for starting, just pushing the mixture full rich on your physical throttle quadrant for some reason does not work for startup. So what I have to do for this airplane is I put the mixture full rich, but then what I do is I just grab the mixture with the mouse and cycle it out and back in. So now it should work normally for start. So mixture is rich, prop is at high RPM, carburetor heat is cold, throttle open 1/2 inch, and prime as required. It's fairly warm here today, so we'll just try doing 2 strokes and see if that does the trick. Let you hear the priming sounds. All right, we'll try that. We'll go ahead and turn the master switch on. We'll get a beacon and a nav light on. And prop area clear. So we would open the window here and yell clear prop. And we'll just look around here to make sure we look clear on both sides and we're clear ahead. Prop area is clear and we are ready to start. She comes to life just like that. We'll adjust our throttle. And oil pressure is up. And we are charging. That looks good. All right, good start. Oil pressure's checked. Beacon and nav lights are on. Avionics master switch is coming on. And the starting engine checklist is complete. All right, let's go ahead and lean the mixture for taxi. Right there will be fine. And let's go ahead and turn our transponder on. We'll go transponder to altitude and let that thing fire up. So I know Marco Island has an AWOS, but I don't have character voices turned up, and I have all my ATC stuff turned off, so there's no way for us to listen to it, and I'm not getting an observation from ForeFlight, unfortunately. So we'll use Naples which is about 11 miles away. And for them, the wind is 230 at 6, visibility 10, sky clear, temperature is 24, dew point 23, altimeter is 2992. So standard pressure, that is already set. Elevation here is 5 feet. We're reading well within 75 feet of that. So the altimeter is set, we've got the weather. And given those winds, we'll use runway 17 here at Marco Island. All right, so we are ready to taxi. Let's go ahead and turn the taxi light on. Get our yoke back up like so. Get my track IR resumed here so I can look around freely. Looks good. We'll release the parking brake. Get a little bit of power and start rolling forward. And we'll taxi down to runway 17. So steering's working. Check our brakes here. We got good brakes. And all of the instruments appear to be working properly. Very nice. All right, the winds are not very strong, so I'm not going to worry too much about turning our nose into the wind for the run-up. So we'll just kind of face our final approach path here. So we'll stop here and hold short. And we'll set our parking brake. All right, before takeoff checklist, cabin doors and windows closed and locked. So we'll get both windows closed, like so. The parking brake is set. Flight controls free and correct. So flight controls, left aileron goes up, right one's down, right one goes up, left one goes down. Looking behind us, elevator up, elevator down, rudder right, and rudder left. All right, we'll check for freedom of movement as well in the yoke, like so. Good, flight controls are free and correct. All right, flight instruments set, check and set. All that's good. We've checked and set the altimeter. That's good, neutral. Runway heading is going to be around 170, so we'll just bug it down there somewhere for now is good. And showing 0 on the vertical speed. That's good. Flight instruments checked and set. Fuel selector is on both. Mixture goes rich. Elevator and rudder trim set for takeoff. And they are, that looks good. And throttle up to 1700 RPM. All right, there's 1700 RPM set. We'll check the magnetos. So we'll go to the right. Looking for no more than 150 RPM drop and a smooth running engine. Good, back to both. Let it recover. We'll go to the left. Good drop. And within 50 of the right as well, which is good. We're back to both. Good recovery. Magnetos are checked. Prop cycle. Now here's where I have one issue with this airplane. When you cycle a prop, it only loses like 200 RPM. A prop cycle in a real constant speed prop airplane is more dramatic than that. But regardless, on the prop cycle, usually I do it 3 times on the first flight of the day. So I'm checking for oil on the windscreen on the first one. Make sure all of our seals and everything in the prop hub are in good shape. So that's checked, and then we look for a drop in RPM and a rise in manifold pressure. So you can see the drop in RPM and a very slight rise in manifold pressure. Again, that's part of this issue with this airplane. Anyways, so oil pressure is the last thing I check on the cycle. Very good. All right, so we've cycled the prop and carburetor heat. Turn that on. Drop in RPM. It's operating properly. Leave it out for a second just to make sure any ice that might be in the carburetor is melted. And I think we're in good shape. So carb heat back in. And the recovery. Very good. All right, engine instruments, diameter. Everything's in the green up there. That all looks good. Suction looks good. And yeah, the ammeter looks good. That is all checked. All right, throttle, bring it all the way to idle. We'll verify the engine idle's okay. And then we'll take it up between 800 and 1,000 is good for idling while we're on the ground, and we'll lean the mixture once again. That's good. Radio's set. We'll go ahead and get our flight plan set for now. So we'll just have Marco Island to Naples in there for now, and we'll load the approach later on in the flight, but that'll be okay for now. And I'm not worried about messing with our course on the HSI or anything just yet. So that's all good. Radios are set. Autopilot is off. We'll go ahead and put 3,000 feet in there. We'll climb up to 3,000 feet on the departure. So that's good. Autopilot is off as well, so that's good. And strobe lights are not installed, but we will turn the landing light on. And throttle friction lock is already adjusted. Parking brake released. And before takeoff checklist is complete. All right, before we release our parking brake and take off here, we'll go ahead and do a quick crew briefing here. So as far as our takeoff goes, we're going to be at normal flaps 10 departure. So we'll go ahead and set flaps 10. And we'll verify that is selected. And show flaps 10 out there, and it's indicated right there. So flaps 10 is selected and indicating and verified. So flaps are set 10 degrees for departure. But anyways, it's going to be a normal flaps 10 departure, runway 17 at Marco Island. So we'll line up on the runway, we'll bring full power in, call out, full power applied, full power made, and engine instruments green, airspeed alive. We'll rotate at 50 knots, and then we'll begin climbing. Once we get to a safe altitude and we're above 70 knots, we can bring the flaps up, and then we'll climb out at VY, which is 78. As far as the departure goes, we'll make a left turn out and depart to the east-northeast, climb up to 3,000 feet, and we'll fly out there and do some maneuvers. As far as the emergency briefing goes, obviously if we experience an engine failure or loss of power on the runway, then while we're still on the ground, we'll bring the power to idle, get on the brakes, and abort the takeoff. If we're in the air below 500 feet, we'll plan to land straight ahead. Even if we're, 100 or 200 feet off the runway, we'll put the nose down and land on whatever runway is left. Even if we're going to roll off the end of it, it's better to roll off the end of the runway at 20 knots than to crash into something later on. So anyways, below 500 feet, if we experience an engine failure, we'll put the nose down and plan to land basically straight ahead. Above 500 feet, we can start considering options that would be on either side of us. But normally not until above 1,000 feet do I consider making a turn back to the airport in an airplane like this. So that would be my departure briefing in this airplane. However, we are going to be making a left turn out. It's basically going to be like a left crosswind turn for our departure. So if we're on that crosswind leg and we're below 1,000 feet, I think from that position we could make it back here. And at that point, I would attempt to do so. Obviously, the most important thing in an engine failure is to put the airplane's nose down and keep it under control. So that's my takeoff, departure, and emergency briefing complete. And the before takeoff checklist is complete. Flaps are set, and we are ready to roll. All right, park brake release. Give it a little bit of power here. So transponders at altitude, squawk and VFR. Carburetor cold, props full forward. Mixture rich. Flaps are set. Fuel selectors on both. Cow flaps are open. Trims are set. Lights on. Pitot heat's not needed. Takeoff time note. Brakes released. Runway items are complete. Ready to go. We look clear both ways. We're going to have a little bit of a crosswind from the right, I'm expecting. You see 17. 17 on the HSI. That looks good. Here we go. All right, full power's applied. Full power's made. Engine instruments green. Airspeed is alive. 40 knots. 45. There's 50. Rotate. She comes up off the ground nicely. Climbing away. Get a little bit more altitude here before we bring the flaps up. All right, that's pretty good there. Obstacles are clear. We're above 70 knots. Flaps can come up. Pitching for 78, 80 knots will be okay. We got plenty good climb rate. We're already at 500 feet. So we can look left, clear left, start a left turn out. All right, we'll go ahead and turn the landing light off. We'll leave our taxi light on as a recog light. Bring our power back to 23 inches. Like so. En route climb airspeed 85 to 95, 23 inches and 2400 RPM. Fuel selector on both. Make sure we'll leave it full rich. Cow flaps are going to stay open. En route climb checklist is complete. As you climb in a normally aspirated engine, with a constant speed prop like this, you lose about an inch of manifold pressure per 1,000 feet. So as you climb, you have to continually increase power to maintain your climb power. So that's what I just had to do there. But we're coming up on 3,000 feet here. We'll start lowering the nose. Grab 3,000 feet perfectly. We're gonna leave our prop at 2,400. We'll pull our power back to like 20 inches or so. And we'll just pull our mixture back a little bit, nothing crazy. Maybe 10 to 11 gallons per hour on the fuel flow will be good. We'll keep an eye on our EGT. Leveled off now, we'll go ahead and close our cow flaps. So cruise checklist, power, 15 to 23 inches, 2,100 to 2,400 RPM, and trims adjust. I think the rudder trim is actually okay, getting a little bit low on our altitude. And the elevator trim I'm still working on. Mixture is leaned. We've got it set where we want it. Cow flaps are closed. Cruise checklist is complete. All right, so we are out here in a pretty good position. I think we'll get on like an eastbound heading or so, and we'll start doing a little bit of maneuvering here. We're going to start with just a couple of clearing turns. Clearing turns are a great way to clear the area to make sure we are clear of other traffic before we start doing maneuvers. So we'll go ahead and knock those out first. So kind of starting on an eastbound heading, we'll do two 90-degree turns. We'll do one to the left and then one to the right. So first to the left, looking left, clear left, turning left. And so just kind of a normal turn here to the left, maintaining 3,000 feet. Not only are clearing turns great for us to be looking around, looking for traffic, but also by us banking the airplane around, it gives other traffic a good opportunity to see us. So we look clear out this direction, we go back to the right, clear right, turning right, and looking good. The air vents are modeled. You can open those up. You'll hear the wind rushing in the cabin if you do that, like so. Which is kind of cool, but they're kind of annoying, so we'll go ahead and put them away. All right. Coming to the east. Rolling out. Shooting up on our altitude a little bit. Don't want to do that. All right, let's actually get on a northbound heading here before we do our first steep turn. And we'll do two 360-degree steep turns at 50 degrees of bank because I am a commercial pilot in the real world, so I hold myself to commercial pilot standards. I try to, at least. Definitely when you're not check ride ready, your skills tend to slip a little bit, but it's important to try and stay sharp, so every now and then it's good to do this. So we'll try to maintain 3,000 feet, and we'll do a 50-degree bank to the left all the way around back to north. So let's get our heading bug set, and we will roll the airplane to the left. So clear left, clear all the way around, and we'll give it a little bit of mixture because I'm going to add just some power, a little bit of power here in the turn. So rolling in, adding some power. There's 45 degrees of bank, and a little bit more right there is about 50. So there we are in our steep turn, 50 degrees of bank, maintaining 3,000 feet or within standards. Real airplane, you'd be feeling a little bit of G-force in your seat as you're turning. Coming back around to our northbound heading, we'll start reducing power and rolling out of the bank. And we maintained our altitude, rolled out right on heading. Very good. And restoring about 20 inches of manifold pressure. All right, that was a good one to the left. We'll do the same thing, but to the right. So looking right, we are clear. Rolling the airplane into a right-hand bank, adding a little power. 50 degrees of bank, maintaining 3,000 feet. Very good. Holding our altitude nicely, holding our bank nicely, making small little corrections, trying to use our outside references, and looking really, really nice. Coming around to our northbound heading, rolling out, overshot our heading a little bit that time, and restoring our power. All right, not bad. All right, rolling out here on a southbound heading. We'll go ahead and configure the airplane for some slow flight. We'll do slow flight dirty today, which means in the landing configuration. And we'll go ahead and set the airplane up for that. So I think we'll choose to use 55 knots for our slow flight in the landing configuration. I think that'll keep us above the stall warning horn, which is what we want. So let's go ahead and get the airplane slowed down here. We'll give it some mixture because we are going to be using a lot of power when we get on the back side of the power curve. So we'll turn the carburetor heat on initially, bring the power back to about 12 inches or so. We're below 140, so we can bring in 10 degrees of flaps, like so. And we're also going to open the cowl flaps. We're in the wide arc, flaps 20. Our pitch is all over the place. Handle that a little bit better. All right, we'll go full flaps. 40 degrees of flaps in this airplane. And we'll trim the nose up, up, up. There's 60 knots. Turn the carb heat off. If you got thrown off there a little bit. All right, I think 55 knots is going to be a good airspeed to shoot for a slow flight here. And I need to get back up to 3,000 feet. Otherwise, we are pretty much set up. There's 3,000 feet. And we are in the region of reverse command right now, so we pitch for speed, and we control our altitude with our power. So pitch up a little bit, but we don't want to get high, so reduce power. There we go. All right, pretty well established in our slow flight here. Let's go ahead and do a couple of turns. We'll do one to the right, clear right. We use no more than 10 degrees of bank. 5 to 10 degrees of bank will be good at this low speed. Looking good. Coming around to the west, we'll roll out, and we'll go back to the left to the south. Very nice. Speed looks good. Altitude is nailed. Looking perfect. I like it. Temperatures look good on the engine. All right, we'll go back to the south, clear left. We look clear, rolling the airplane to the left. Very nice. Very, very nice. Using that rudder to stay coordinated here. Love it. All right, rolling out on a southbound heading. Very good. All right, we're actually going to go ahead and we'll fully recover, and then we'll set up for some stalls from normal cruise flight. So let's go ahead and recover. We'll go full power. We'll just throw everything full forward. Maintain altitude. Bring our flaps to 20. Continue accelerating. There's 70 knots. We'll bring the flaps to 10. And the flaps can come all the way up. Very good. All right, we're on our northbound heading here, and we'll go ahead and set up for a power off stall and the landing configuration. So for that, we're going to go ahead and bring our carb heat on, bring the power back to about 12 inches initially. Airspeed to below 140, we'll go 10 degrees flaps. And we'll go ahead and reduce the power further. We're in the wide arc, flaps to 20. We'll go ahead and open our cow flaps. Power is all the way to idle. There's full flaps. And we are configured for the stall. We're going to establish a glide at 70 knots in this configuration, and then we're going to pull the airplane up into a pitch attitude that will induce the stall. So there's our glide already established. We'll go ahead and bring the nose up. Up, up, up. Right there, I think we'll be good. We'll hold the nose right here and induce the stall all the way to the brake. There it goes. Go full power. There she is. Flaps to 20. Bring that nose up. Full power. Get the carb heat off. Flaps can go to 10. And flaps up. All right, good. Very, very good. Let's go ahead and turn towards the west. We're clear left. We'll turn to the west. We'll climb back up to 3,000 feet, and then we'll set up for a power on stall. All right, we are on our westbound heading, and we've reached 3,000 feet. And we're going to go ahead and just pretty much go straight into the setup for the power on stall. So we're going to go ahead and reduce power. Cow flaps are going to stay open. Turn the carb heat on here until we add our power back in. And we're going to slow the airplane down. We'll slow it down to about 65 knots or so. And then we'll bring in full power and pitch to an attitude that will induce the stall. All right, there's 65, full power, carb heat off, pitch up, right there will do, and we'll hold that attitude, increasing back pressure to hold our attitude. There it goes, left rudder, nice and coordinated here, bring that nose up, nice and smooth. Yeah, she dropped a wing on us that time. Very nice. And climbing away. Cool. Very, very cool. So if we engage the autopilot here, we can go into heading mode, and altitude hold at 3,000 feet would set there already because we were pretty close, so it grabbed that just as it should. Perfect. And so now we can go ahead and set up the GPS for the approach here. So we'll go procedures, select approach. It's going to be the RNAV Yankee runway 23 from Chipham, and we can go ahead and activate it because we want to do that immediately. So desired track is going to be 325, so we'll twist that in and we'll turn onto it and and we can actually go nav mode, and it will fly it. That's cross-filled here on the 430 as well, so we can put 325 in there, like so. And it's being sloppy, just as I'm sure the real autopilot would be. So here's the approach in case you were interested. So like I said, we're direct to Chipham as the initial approach fix. 3,000 feet, which is what we're doing. And then there'll be a left turn inbound from Roll. And then we have a step down here at Bluelin. And then 1,500 feet at glide path will be the precise final approach fix, which should happen at Quiet. And then inbound, this is an LPV approach. And it gets you down to 270 feet. I'm not going to do a full briefing or anything like that. We're just shooting this approach just to see what it's like flying an approach in the 182Q here. And so that's the purpose. I have pretty well worked out the numbers that I like to use for the approach in this airplane though, and I will share that with you. So for the approach, what I like to do is to arrive at the initial approach fix at my numbers, and I do this in the real world too. But what I like to do is have the airplane established in the approach configuration on my approach numbers by the time I arrive at the initial approach fix. So we're basically right there, and this airplane is pretty easy anyways. But for this airplane, what it is it's 10 degrees of flaps, so we'll bring in 10 degrees of flaps for approach flaps there, and power set at 17.5 inches, which we already happen to be at right there. And that should result in about 100 knots on the approach, which is the approach speed I like to fly with this airplane. So looking good. Let's go ahead and look at our descent checklist real quick. So fuel selector is on both, power as desired, like I said, 17.5 inches, 10 degrees of flaps. Let's actually reduce the power to 17 inches, see if we can get this thing slowed down. So power set, carb heat. Carb heat is not needed at this time. Mixture, we'll enrich in it just a little bit. Cow flaps are closed, and flaps are set at 10 degrees for the approach. So the descent checklist is complete. All right, weather at Naples, wind is 220 at 6, visibility 10, sky clear, temperature 23, temperature 24, dew point 23, altimeter is 299 or 4. Should have already gotten this, but it wasn't too much of a change, so we're in good shape. Wind, yeah, 220 at 6, so it's almost right down the runway, and very light at that. So we've got the ATIS, in this case it was the METAR. The altimeter's set. The approach briefing, like I said, I'm not worried about doing a thorough approach briefing since we're just flying this VFR. Avionics are set for the approach, and the airplane is in the approach configuration. So you can see we've already slowed a little bit below our 100, so let's go ahead and bring that extra half inch back in. That should take us to 100 knots, which is what we want for the approach numbers. And we're just about to make a left turn inbound from Roll. So there's our left turn inbound to Bluelin from Roll. Desired track now 231. Dial that in. 231. And at this point we can descend and maintain 2,000. So let's go and put 2,000 in there. Oop. 2,000. And then altitude, there it is. And we'll go down a little bit. Reduce power so we don't speed up. Once we get past Bluelin, we should see LPV go active, and we should have a glide path as well. Coming up on Bluelin, and we can continue our descent. So we'll put 1,500 feet in there, altitude, and down we go, continuing our descent down to 1,500 feet. LPV. And we're not getting a glide path. That is not good. So at this point we would revert to an LNAV approach. I'm gonna see though if that might just be a bug, and it might still, the autopilot might still capture a glide path even though we don't have a glide path indication. It'll be interesting to see here. So we'll get down to 1,500 feet here. We'll arm the approach like so, and we'll see what it does. So leveling at 1,500 feet, we'll bring our power back to our 17.5 inches. See if it captures a glide path when we get to quiet. It should happen right around quiet. Yeah, it seems like it's pitching down. That is so weird. All right, and then on the approach here, we'll go, when we start our descent for a normal 3-degree glide path, which this is actually a 3.5-degree glide path, so a little bit steeper, but normal 3-degree glide path, I do 15 inches, but we're also fast and it's steeper, so we're gonna wanna use less power on this approach. All right, so yeah, it's following a glide path down like it's an LPV, and we're showing LPV, but we're not getting a glide path indication. So let's look at our before landing checklist. Seatbelts, shoulder harnesses are adjusted and locked. Fuel selectors on both. Mixture will go full rich. Mixture's full rich. Prop is full forward. And yeah, we'll go and turn the carb heat on. And props full forward, like I said. Autopilot will go off before too much longer. We can bug 2,000 feet, so our missed approach altitude. And that's the end of the before landing checklist. We'll actually bug 1,000 feet because we're gonna make a touch and go and then left traffic on the go. You can see our power settings working out pretty well. My procedure is I fly this all the way down until I break out of the clouds. And then I reduce power, slow it down further, and bring in more flaps. So we're basically minimums there. We'll go and turn the autopilot off, power to idle. You can see we're already in the wide arc there, so we'll go flaps to 20. And we'll go full flaps. We're gonna be looking for about 65 knots here. 70 is okay in this airplane as well. So 70 knots will be good. Looking good. You can see we had no problem slowing down. Power's all the way to idle. Nose up, 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 up. There it is. Fly the nose wheel down like so. All right. Carb heat. Flaps coming up. Cow flaps. Reset the trim. Like so. All right, here we go. There's 50. I brought the flaps all the way up. Meant to go to 10. That's okay. We are approved for 0 to 20 for takeoff in this airplane. Looking good. Pitch for 78 knots. Like so, we'll climb straight out until we get to about 700 feet. And then we'll start our left turn. All right, looking good. Clear left, rolling left. Right at 1,000 feet is going to be pattern altitude. That is the nice thing about flying at these sea-level airports. It's easy to remember your altitudes. All right, leveling off at 1,000 feet. We'll bring the power back to 17.5 inches. That's what I like to fly in the pattern as well, but with no flaps. And we'll make our downwind turn. We'll close our cow flaps. And looking good. Once we get a beam our touchdown point, like right about there, go carburetor heat, power back to 12 inches. And well below 140, 10 degrees of flaps, and pitch for 90 knots. gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop, power, seat belts, switches, speed. Looking for 90. And we are, of course, beginning our descent. We are out, I think, just a little bit wide, if you want to know my opinion. So we'll go ahead and start our turn now. And we're in the wide arc. Grab flaps 20 here. And on base, we'll look for 80 knots. 90, 80, 70. That's what I like to fly in the pattern in this airplane. There's 80 knots. Pitch to maintain 80 knots. If we do everything right, we shouldn't have to touch power, but at this point, this is our key point. Are we too high or too low? I think we might be a touch low. I'm just going to add a little bit of power. Barely anything. We're actually a little fast, so we can trade that off. But I think we flew a bit too wide of a pattern than I would have liked. Final looks clear. Don't see any traffic. Runway looks clear. Yeah, add a little more power. We'll go ahead and turn final. Looking good. We'll see how we end up as we roll out. Looking pretty good. We'll go full flaps. $75 knots. Looking for 70. Here's 70. A little bit too much power there. Some gusts right there. All right, 70 knots, looking good. Nice and stable. Start reducing power until we're all the way to idle. Go into our round out and let it settle into the flare and just hold it off. Hold it off, hold it off, hold it off. Beautiful. Beautiful landing. All right, carb flaps, trim, cow flaps. Flaps to 10 this time. Almost did it again. Here we go. That was a good landing. We'll plan a full stop on this next one. There's 50 already. Very nice. I could tell it definitely comes off the ground a little bit easier at 50 knots when you have 10 degrees of flaps in rather than 0 flaps. I know 50 knots seems slow, but the POH that I've been looking at online does indicate for normal takeoff, lift nose wheel at 50 knots, which means rotate at 50 knots. So that's why I do that. All right, looking good. All set on left downwind. Yeah, this looks pretty good. This is a good distance right here. Once we're abeam, we'll do the same thing that we did before. So there's our beam, our touchdown point, carb heat, power back to 12 inches. Below 140, 10 degrees flaps. Looking for 90. Gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop, power, seat belts, switches, speed. And of course the carb heat's on, cow flaps are closed. 90 knots, looking good. This is our initial descent in the pattern. Go and turn base. I'll reach over and grab 20 degrees of flaps. Looking for 80 on base. All right, rolling out on base, pitching for 80. See how we're doing? Looking pretty good. I'm gonna leave the power where it's at, actually. 80 knots. We might actually end up a little bit higher on this one than we did before. We'll see. But our 80 knots looks good. Nice stable descent here. We look clear out on final. We'll turn final. We'll see how we end up here. I haven't touched the power at all, so we'll see how it ends up. Not too bad. Turned a little bit too soon, but it's going to work out pretty well. We'll go full flaps. And slow her down a little bit. Very nice. Looking really good. I still have not adjusted power from the initial descent. So that 12 inches number is working pretty well. We'll go and reduce power a little bit now as we are a little bit too high and we need to slow down. So we'll reduce the power. $70 knots, looking good. Nice and stable. Start reducing power. Power's all the way to idle as we go into the round out, and then let it settle into the flare and just hold it off the ground. Very nice. There's the nose. Beautiful. Beautiful landing. All right, guys. We'll call that full stop. So we'll make a left turn here, and we're gonna take her into the ramp, stop and hold short, do our after landing items real quick, and then we'll taxi in. So we'll get the entire airplane clear of the hold short line, clear the runway, wing flaps coming up, carburetor heat cold, cow flaps open. And I'll also reset the trim and lean the mixture for taxi, and we'll turn the landing light off. All right, we do have a marshaller over here, so we'll go ahead and just park in front of them. We'll kill our taxi light. Ooh, overshot. There we are. Like so. Man, this thing really bounces on that oleo strut. It's like it has too much air in it. Securing airplane checklist. Parking brake set. Avionics off. And throttle idle. Mixture idle cutoff. Ignition switch off. And master switch can come off. We'll go ahead and turn the lights off. And master off. Control lock install. And fuel selector to the right. All right, securing airplane checklist is complete. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed flying with me in the Carenado Cessna 182Q. I had a lot of fun flying this airplane. However, there are definitely things in this airplane that need some work. Like I said at the beginning of the video during our pre-flight inspection, it would be really nice to have markings on the dipstick. Ideally numbered markings like a real airplane. However, even high-low markings like the Asobo Cessna 172 would be better than nothing. The next thing I came across that needs to be fixed is the bug with the aircraft's mixture control not working properly with your hardware during startup. Like I said at the beginning of the video, just pushing your physical mixture on the throttle quadrant full rich does not work for startup. For some reason, you have to manually push the mixture full rich using the mouse. The next thing I noticed was the unrealistic prop cycle that I mentioned earlier during our run-up. In my experience flying constant speed prop airplanes in the real world, a prop cycle is a bit more dramatic than modeled in this airplane. Generally, for a prop cycle in a real airplane, I bring the prop lever all the way back to the stop and then back in quickly. Doing it that way will usually result in a drop of about 200 to 300 RPM. However, in this airplane, we brought the prop lever all the way back, left it out, and still only saw a maximum of a 200 RPM drop and almost no rise in manifold pressure. At a minimum, they should make the rise in manifold pressure more obvious. You also saw that we did not get a glide path indication on the RNAV GPS approach. The GPS showed LPV and the autopilot followed the LPV glide path normally. However, we never saw a glide path indication in the cockpit. I don't know if it would appear on an ILS approach. I haven't flown an ILS approach with this airplane yet, but this is definitely a bug. There's no reason we shouldn't have had a glide path on that approach. Additionally, the number 2 CDI did not work at all. It was flagged out the entire flight, even though it should have been fed by the 430. These two bugs are the most serious issues with this plane in my opinion, because it messes things up for those of us who want to fly at IFR. I'm not sure if the 650-750 options fix it, but I wish it worked correctly with the Asobo 430-530 setup. The last thing I noticed that I really didn't like was the fact that the yokes do not move with the autopilot servos when the autopilot is engaged. I haven't seen this since I used to play mobile flight simulators on my iPad. In today's day and age, when you're playing Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and paying $20 for a GA airplane, you would hope this feature would be implied. I really hope they can get all of these things fixed because I genuinely had so much fun flying this airplane and would love to keep doing flights in it. I would love to fly it IFR and even on VATSIM. But let me know what you guys thought of this airplane in the comments below, or if you have been flying it yourselves. I would love to see more GA flying in the flight sim community. I know it's pretty oversaturated with airliners and other jets, but in my opinion, the small GA airplanes are just as cool. And the more of us who fly them, the more there will be and the better they will be. With all of that said, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel for more. Thank you all so much for watching. I will talk to you all someday soon. Take care.